O'Reilly. Are your wiper blades chattering, skipping, or squeaking? Don't let streaks or smearing on your windshield compromise your visibility. When it's time to replace your wiper blades, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and see our selection. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades while you wait. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
Oh, hey, everybody. Another episode of the Quarantine Cast. I'm Ben O'Brien, and Phil is drinking a beer.
I am.
In the saddle.
It's after 5. I'm making dinner. That means it's beer time.
Yeah, it's beer. I'm going down and just chug a bucket of margarita or some shit when I get done.
Sounds great.
It's been one of those days. It's one of those days. But you know, the best part of my day, I was just telling the guys this earlier, the best part of my day is actually recording these podcasts, because it's literally just me and my buddies talking about hunting. Yeah, yes, we do talk about the situation at hand, but mostly just hunting tales. So I liked, my favorite so far was yesterday's with Sam and Shane. So hopefully you all who have listened to that one, listen to it. If you haven't, we'll give you a minute, go back and do it. And we're back. How you feeling, Phil? Just a daily check-in. Give me a rundown.
I'm doing good. The homeschooling has started. So that's another wrinkle, but it's not too bad. So that's honestly kind of nice to mix it up a little bit and actually give my kids something to do that's not trying to entertain himself in the backyard and run around the house.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Similar. You may hear at some point during the interview, this session with Steve and Yanni, Patelis and Ranella, respectively. If you hear like my wife screaming at our child, that something that happened a lot today. He's cooped up. I'm sure a lot of you that have toddlers or 3-year-olds or whatever, young children, even, older 16 teenagers probably too. Or if you're a teenager yourself, you're feeling cooped up. It's kind of hard to get along. It gets harder to get along. You got to try a lot harder to keep the peace as you get deeper into quarantine time. So, but I mean, you'll hear Steve say in this podcast that this is the first time he's been able to really stop and be with his family. But Phil, I sent you an email. I want to say that we got a contender to Alec Aycock's fly fishing turkey from episodes prior. You guys will know that for a couple episodes this week. I didn't think any hand turkey drawing from the Great Hand Turkey Contest of 2020. To refresh your memory, that is where you put your hand on a piece of paper or whatever, trace it, and then you make the resulting image into a turkey in some creative fashion. Alec Aycock took a bunch of fly fishing materials and made an actual turkey out of it that looked like a hand. Now we get an email from, I'll give you credit, man, David Burgess. He said, "Hey, Benny O and THC folks, embedded and attached is my silliest, most ridiculous, majestic, and delicious submission for the 2020 Great Hand Turkey Contest. I call it The Man. Enjoy. Cheers to health, sanity, and TP." So now, Phil, I want you to take your first look at this this work of art.
Okay. Just because it's titled The Man, I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy play.
If any of the listeners have perused the Meat Eater YouTube channel. Let's see here.
So you'll hear later in the show that Steve and Yanni got to look at all my favorites. It was a bit of a cluster, as it always is. But what do you think about this one? I think this is a challenger for the throne.
Yeah, I mean, with all respects to Alex Aycock, this is more what I think I was picturing. It's a definite hand turkey. There is a clear hand outline here, but he has illustrated you. It's a face that you made during your turkey "I'm the Man" video that you can watch on YouTube.
Yeah, go to the Meat Eater YouTube and just search. I don't know, Ben O'Brien turkey. I don't know what you would have to search to get there.
Meat Eater turkey hunting. It'll pop up. But you're on high alert.
Yeah, I'm definitely on high alert.
And
it's well done. The art is well done.
The detail in the feathers is incredible. There's a majestic blue sky behind you, and you're perched on top of some sort of green hill. It's great.
It's great. I feel like it's vaulted into the lead. We spent some time at the end of the show with Steve and Yanni going through these. It was pretty hilarious watching them try to sort through what the hell we're even looking at here. When I look at this, I feel simultaneously proud and confused. Probably the same way you did when people were drawing your face on things, Philip. So that's where we are with THC. We're simultaneously proud of the show and confused why you listen at the same time. So that's a good analogy for the old THC. So the contest is going. You have till Tuesday. You'll be listening to this on Thursday. You got a couple of days left. You got a weekend to think about it. We didn't quite make it to 1,000 yet there, Phil, but we have many hundreds. I haven't been able to kind of get through them all. So you'll hear more about all of that when we get to Steven Ranella and Giannis Patelis talking about vasectomies, talking about Mexico, Coues deer hunting, and generally what they've been up to in the quarantine, because I'm pretty sure most of you folks haven't heard from them since they went dark. So enjoy Steve Ranella and Yanni Patelis. Hello, Steven Ranella.
Hello.
How you doing, sir?
I'm in day 7 of my 14-day quarantine as dictated by the governor of our state, because I returned from international travel.
You did. And can you describe the room you're in right now? You were just kind of giving me the lay of the land over there.
When we bought this house, I don't know if you remember, there was like a little craze for a while to have a wine cellar in your house. And they designed this to have a wine cellar in it. And that's now I use it as my office. You would never guess it's a wine cellar, except for it's a weird little room with no window. But then next to it is a secret room that you'd never know was there. Well, until I put a handle and a keypad on it. And I use that for secure storage.
Yeah.
But I can reach out my arms and touch both walls.
You got enough to read behind you. Yanni, where are you at, man?
I'm just sitting at my kitchen table, countertop, island.
There's a lot we want to talk about, but we were just talking about, as you guys always do, animal penises. And Mark Kenyon and I were both discussing vasectomies the other day.
Did Marco get one?
No, he didn't get one, but we're both thinking about it. We're both nervous as shit. So Yanni...
Shopping around.
And Yanni...
Kicking the tires.
Kicking the old tires. And Yanni just gave me a pretty good description. Yanni, could you just kind of...
Well, I'm
talk
not going to.
This. I'm a little.
I'm not going to steal the description. I just thought it was a funny description. But our mutual friend Dar Colburn from Colburn and Scott Outfitters down there in Arizona, in Mexico, he described it when he had his done as though someone was pulling on a lawnmower pull start. That's what it felt like. I had none of those sensations when I had mine done. I had a very nice conversation with the doctor about. He was a big basketball player, and we talked. It must have been springtime, so I think we were talking NCAA March Madness type stuff, and before I knew it, it was over.
And recovery? Tell me about that.
It wasn't all that exciting. A couple of days with some ice and maybe a painkiller or two, but I don't remember anything real serious from the recovery. I will tell you, it's awkward to talk about, but like the most cumbersome, the biggest hurdle, struggle you deal with is. I'm gonna tell you. Is you got to clean the pipes out afterwards, and you got to make sure that you don't have any more live sperm, and that the operation was done properly. So you have to. I forget how many times you have to go back in with samples, but
Three times,
and then you wait. You wait a month. You do another one. You wait a month, and
then they call you and they're like, "Congratulations!"
Yeah. So there's a couple weird things that go down because one, you're like, everybody's like, well, hurry up. Let's get this thing all cleaned out so we can have unprotected sex.
Everyone said that?
Yeah. Because everybody's on board for having unprotected sex, I would think.
Well, who all are you including in everybody?
Well, guess. Yeah. There's two people.
Okay. I didn't know if you had a different situation than I was led to believe over the years.
I had a whole group text going with everybody that was excited to hear.
So you're sort of like, well, how do we do that? Are you is there going to be some help, or is this all on my shoulders? To clean the pipes, and so there's that conversation that you have, and then it's also weird when you're going back into the office to drop off the sample in the brown bag. Like when you walk in through those doors, everybody there knows what you have in that brown bag. So you have to sort of just become okay with walking around with a sample of your semen.
Yeah, I didn't like that none. There's a service now. It's called something like Daddy, where you just mail it in, man. They made it like it's like a e-commerce kind of deal where you don't have the weird thing where you have to go wait in line and then say really out loud to people, "Can I help you?" And you're like, "Oh yeah," and then you feel like trying to clarify how you got it. You want to hint at how you got it, and you'd be like, "We worked up this sample rather than I worked her up."
Yep. Yeah. What's in this bag is mine. It belongs to me. Just so you know, of all the vasectomy conversations I've had here recently, I've been doing a lot of research. I've not heard of this issue, Yanni. Nobody has always brought this up at all.
So there's some guys, I got buddies that have had it not for the testing after the vasectomy, but have had to go down and just go into a back room and produce a sample, and they say that's like a whole other level of humiliating. Ooh. That's when you're doing the fertility stuff because they want it fresh.
Yeah, that's a lot more pressure.
Oh, it's enormous amounts of pressure.
Yeah, no, because here's what the thing is too, Ben, is that I think you have to produce like 2 or 3 clean samples, clean meaning that there are no more live sperm in a row. And so if you make it like 2, and then all of a sudden the third one or the second one, whatever, has a live sperm, you're sort of reset. So then you just start all over again. So you're not.
Yeah, like there's a little live one was hiding out in a crease somewhere. And
it's the opposite of fertility, is what you're telling me. You're trying to go the other direction.
When I got mine done, I go down there and I tell the story all the time. I like it. I go down there and the guy, like, I don't even think he started yet. And he's got the what side did he get done? I'm trying to remember. He's got the right side done. And I'm like, how long do you think it'll take or whatever? And he says, well, I already did half of it. So I was like, holy shit, this is going smooth, you know? But then we're talking and talking and talking, and all of a sudden and I'm just kind of lost in whatever, my thoughts. And all of a sudden it occurs to me that we've now been here, 25 minutes. And I'm like, well, how could the one have been over so fast and we're still here? And I look, and this dude has just got blood. There's like blood everywhere. Because I had this thing, this like thing called, I think it's called like a varicocele, where in your scrotum is this just like ball of nerves. And they're painful, especially on hot, humid days. And he was trying to dig through all that to get the vas deferens and cut it, and had all this blood going on. And at one point, I remember he kind of closes his eyes and brings his hands up to his eyes and rests his head in his hands, covering his eyes with his hands. And he takes like a deep breath and makes a whoosh noise, like he was getting zen, and collecting himself, and then dug back in again. But even then, I just went home and nothing happened.
I can't.
No pain, like no pain. You lay around for a day and you're like, there's not even any problem.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Oh, it's good to hear. I just feel like that's the one type of surgery you only want to have one. You only want somebody cutting into that portion of your body one time in your life.
I think it's like psychological, man. I think it's just because it's your scro. If it was anything else, if it was a finger surgery, you wouldn't even talk about it.
It's true. That's true. 100% right. All right. Well, thank you. It's a public service you've just done me, or personal service. Now we got to go through, like, you guys haven't done a Meat Eater podcast since the quarantine, right?
No, man.
So people are going to want to know what's going on in your lives. I wrote down a bunch of questions I had for you, because I haven't seen or talked to either of you in this scenario for a while. But the biggest one, I think, is at home with kids. We've talked about this on the daily podcast a bunch already, with everybody that's home. But that specific situation has been interesting for me. I got a son that was screaming during our last podcast, people running around. So, like, Yanni, you want to start with how's it going with the kiddos being home from school? Like, what's the approach at the Patelis household?
Sure. We're still finding our groove. That's for sure. Nothing's dialed in here, but I heard that one of our other colleagues was splitting the day in the middle, and she was getting up real early, starting her work day at like 4 or 5, and then going until about noon, and then swapping with her husband. And then she would take the kids for the rest of the day, and he would then work. So we've done that a few days. And that seems to work pretty good, because, the whole day just with the kids can burn you. And it's not a big deal. Like, I took my kids squirrel hunting last week one day, and that was easy. We were just out and about all day and, walked around in the woods, had a good time, and the day flew by. But when you're stuck in the house, we've already hiked our backyard about, I don't know, it seems like 20 times in the last week. I'm sure it's only been 5, but so I think splitting the day has been working pretty slick, where at least I'm definitely not getting like a great 8 hours of work in every day. But if I'm getting like a solid 4 to 5, and then I can get another hour in while, we're all just doing stuff together, and I can knock out a few emails that don't require, full attention. That's about how it's been going. So there's been, that's kind of the struggle of it, but there's been a lot of pluses too. I haven't spent this much time straight with my kids in years. Having every meal with them almost, and just hanging out with them a lot. So that's been great. Steve-O?
Yeah, the broader circumstances notwithstanding, I've enjoyed a lot of it, because this is the closest, I guess, being quarantined is the closest I've come in my adult life to a normal life. I'm always gone. I'm always like thinking about how I got to go somewhere. and that weighing over your head. And it's been really interesting just to hang around without this sense of that you got to like get your shit packed up, or that you got to really like hurry up and sort of be a dad like very aggressively for a few days to make up for what you're going to miss. It's been interesting to hang around. I've really, I've been liking a lot of it. My wife, our kids are home from school as is most people. My wife kind of set up a little homeschool, a little one-room schoolhouse in the kitchen, and she's got maps hanging on the wall, and they have a schedule that hangs on the wall, and they have recesses and lunch break, and they run it like they pick what they want to research every day. There was a bad moment today where they watched some childbirth videos, and my oldest boy got very, very upset by it. Very traumatized by it.
Why, just the visual traumatized him?
Traumatized him. He wanted to watch about how crocodiles can eat stuff, catch stuff, crossing rivers and kill it, which is totally fine for him. But a human being born is like really disturbing.
I'm right there with him.
Yeah, he's not alone. I was going to say there's plenty of grown men that can't handle that either.
My wife was super annoyed with him. She's like, I don't want you to be one of those guys that
I can't handle it.
But no, it's been fun, man. We set some beaver traps on Saturday. There was a guy I knew that had a beaver problem, but it's only one beaver. So we set beaver traps on Saturday, caught the beaver on Sunday, and then checked on Monday and Tuesday just to keep busy. And we'll get out. We'll keep doing that.
And I feel what you're saying too about kind of when you travel a lot or you got, an intense work situation that takes you away, or at least takes you mentally away, if not physically. You feel like when you're being a dad, you have to have this intense, like you got to be the best dad for the time that you're there. So you can't, that's one of those things where you got to be present in the short time you have to connect. And this is so spread out, man. It just feels so spread out to me. It's hard to know how to structure it.
Yeah, if you travel for work a lot, I think that you wind up. I didn't really appreciated it so much until recently, because I was home for a bit when I'm normally not, and then we went on family vacation to Mexico, and then came home, and now it's been another week. And I realized, I don't feel this need to like jump through hoops trying to do like dad stuff, and just to have a day go by where I wasn't like at least bummed that we didn't pull off something semi-spectacular, but
yeah, man. Yeah, you feel like you got to go over and above. There's got to be some sort of fireworks to drive home that you're there and you care, and all that other stuff is just in the way of that. You gotta like, do you guys either have like a moment during this quarantine? We'll move on to actual hunting stories in a minute, but like a moment during this quarantine where you felt the anxiety that you didn't think you would, or is there any moments that have stood out you think you remember for a while? I've got plenty.
Yeah, a lot of anxiety around, I think like everybody, anxiety around the economy. We got a friend who's a restaurateur, and when you say restaurateur, are you supposed to throw the N in? Restaurateur?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He's a restaurateur, and what was he saying, Yanni? He had to lay off 60 people, man.
That's right.
It's devastating.
It's devastating.
And then Yanni's got fishing guide buddies he was talking to. I don't know, tell me, Yanni, about what you're telling me.
They just, they make all their money basically starting now. And these are some guys in the Keys starting now and all the way through into June, maybe. And that's pretty much, hopefully we'll be sort of heading towards clear skies by that point. But anyways, they're going to lose, most of their yearly salary because of this thing. And it's just right up in their grill for right in the forefront. And got me thinking this to think like, well, how many steps removed is my job from that? If the economy really screeches to a halt and, the company I work for isn't generating a ton of money, how long does my employment last or my paychecks?
Yeah, it's unnerving.
That gives
I
you a
found that,
little anxiety.
in life in general, you got to be careful when you complain. And you got to think of what's downstream of you when you complain. So anytime we've talked about this with our kids and otherwise, we try real hard to put it in context, like, say, just to be like, hey man, there's some people that are really, really suffering right now. So sure, let's talk about how it's a bummer that we can't go hang out with the neighbor kids, but at the same time be like, come on, we're here as a family. No one's sick. Everybody's safe. We got food. We got a job. So, it's just it's an exercise in trying to be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, if a time like this can't make you appreciate, the small, the things that you would consider to be small, and other times you're never going to get that appreciation. Even being able to, I'd love to sit in traffic and head to the office to see everybody at this point. I know you said that on an all company thing the other day, Steve. Yeah. You wanted to hug Callahan. He came over to borrow something from the garage, and you just kind of looked out the window like you want to give that dude a hug.
Yeah. My wife was trying to implement this thing where every morning we had to say something we were thankful for. And the other morning I said, I'm thankful for the days when you're not mad at me.
Yeah,
oh man, that's a double-edged sword there, Steve. You're really working some angles.
I'm thankful when you really respect me. All right. Well, on a more a generally positive note, like, what have you got done that you need, like garage projects? I know that we've been on the meat eater handle and talking to all our boys around the office, or at least around our home offices, that people, a lot of the questions, like, what are the things we can do right now? So, like, what, garage projects, what are the things y'all are doing?
Oh, dude, I'm getting way out ahead. I'm way out ahead on projects. I'm grinding 30 pounds. I got 30 pounds of Neil Guy ground up this morning. I got to bag it still, sitting outside because it's nice and cool.
Just for regular old ground meat?
Regular ground meat, burger meat. We're having burgers tonight out of that. We're going to dig a handful out of that tub and have some burgers tonight. I got some, this is how far out ahead I am. I'm hanging these little hooks up for beach towels on a post out in my yard later today. I'm holding one of the hooks right now. That's where I'm at. I'm just wishing the ground was thawed because my daughter wants some pull-up bar type things out in the yard, but I can't get the posts in because the ground's frozen. I'm thinking about melting that shit with candles just to keep plowing ahead during the quarantine here.
Dude, I wish it was garden season too, man. I'm looking out the window going, oh my God.
Oh, isn't that a missed opportunity?
Oh, it's the worst. We've had a lot of conversations. Yanni, you might be thinking on this. We were talking the other day about what if this happened in September? What would it be like if it was September 14th right now?
Yeah, I'd be like, I know a great place to social distance.
Yeah, dude. I'm gone. But the other thing that we were saying, that would you feel comfortable at this point leaving your family for, say, 10 days in the backcountry with, maybe just a sat phone?
No, things are a little too on edge right now.
Yeah, that's where I land. Yanni?
Not right now. Yeah, there's too many unknowns.
Yeah. And how, like, that.
But not in less than a month, I'm planning on taking my whole family camping and turkey hunting. So I'll go.
Yeah, well, that's fine, man.
I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, as long as you're together, that's fine. Last one, I just making a bunch of notes. Quarantine meals. Like, what are you cooking? What's been good? You experimenting? What the hell's going on?
I had a major breakthrough that we ate yesterday, but I really screwed the pooch because I took great photos through the whole process, except for the last, like the finished product in the bowl. And it's all in everybody's bellies now. So the Insta story is going to kind of have a real poopy ending. But speaking of Nilgai, I had this bag of Nilgai that was labeled Sinew trim, I think. And
I just ground one of those up.
You ground it. Okay. See, I feel like it's not going to work. Well, we can discuss that later.
Yeah, we got different viewpoints on that.
Yeah, I don't like having Sinew in my burgers. But Jesse was telling me because a lot of times I look at that stuff and I just throw it away or I grind it up for the dog. But Jesse was like, no, man, make stew out of that. Like, because you just have so much collagen in there. I mean, this is like literally a bag that had to be 50% silver skin and tendons and white chunks, fat. Like, there wasn't that much meat in there. Man, I chopped it up, not super small, but, less than an inch. I tried to keep them under an inch. And braised it pretty much all day. I don't know, 6 to 8 hours in half beer and half beef stock. And I forget what else I threw in there. Maybe some garlic cloves, some bay leaves, a sprig of rosemary. But man, and then I let it cool. And then the next day I finished it and turned it into a stew just by adding carrots, potatoes, and a few dried cherries. But man, when that stuff cooled down, it was like just a pot full of jelly, meat jelly. Just
in a good way or a bad way?
Oh, yeah. Super good. Just like rich and silky. And it just really, and the meat was delicious. And as long as you don't mind, like, because at that point, you're not like that gristle isn't going to get stuck in your teeth because it's so broken down. You just have to give it a couple chews and it, just kind of disappears. Where that's why I feel like I don't like it in a burger, because that ain't going to happen in a burger. You're going to chew on it and it's going to get stuck between your big molars there, and you're going to be having to pick it out later. But anyways,
I grind that shit up. You take the fine.
Anyways, big game changer for me. Like, now all that stuff is going to go into another bag called, Sinew stew meat, and I'm going to be making stews forever. Because listen, if you just take like a top round and chop that up real small and make a batch of
stew meat.
Yeah, it's like it's dry, It's always kind of dry. It's not like, it's good, but it ain't great. This, yesterday, everybody was scarfing it.
Yeah, but
jelly.
when we were little, our folks would the what they would call stew meat would be not stew meat. Like they would make a stew with the wrong cut. They'd use like rump, sirloin, rounds. And it had that dry kind of mealy. Yep. Yeah, not good. You been picking your teeth with that raccoon baculum?
Not yet. Really? I don't know what end I would use for that.
Oh, they should have there's a sharp point on them.
The hook end looks like the one I use.
Yeah, where did someone give me a baculum that they said was a toothpick? Oh, that's right. It's got looks like a scroll on the end of there. Hold on, let me grab mine.
That'd be hard. Yeah, we were comparing baculums here.
Yeah, I'll dig mine out later.
I learned I'll dig it out later. Yeah, I mean, I've been to that point, man. My parents always just, whatever it was, backstrap got fried and round steak got stewed or whatever the hell it was. And it was never right, but that's a generational thing, wasn't it, for you guys? For me,
yeah.
It was.
I think, Yanni, people are going to be digging through your freezer and going to find that bag of Sinew meat. It's just going to go like hotcakes, man.
Well, that was
Sinew stew. That's got to be on the website, man.
That was almost like the last piece of the puzzle for me. I mean, I felt like every other part of the animal, I've figured it out. Because you know what else is going to go right into that pile is going to be that, I think we call it the skirt, but basically that flap that kind of runs from the ribs over to the top of the hip there. That is for sure going to go right into that same pile, and I think it's going to be amazing. Okay, flank. I think that'll be great stew meat too. So yeah, it really rounds out my sort of wild game approach.
Sinew stew. Steve, what have you been working on over there?
Last night, well, like I said, tonight we're having burgers. The other night I had this is worth talking about. There's a fish we get at our fish shack called a pea cod, Pacific cod. And we've always struggled with the best way to prepare it. It's like when you fry it, it kind of soaks up too much oil. It's real fragile. It's just a hard to handle fish. I used to think it doesn't freeze well, but sometimes you get a few of them or more. And I'd always wanted to mess with it. And I had 2 Pacific cod fillets in my little caught last summer. And they've been sitting in the freezer since September or since August. So I was a little leery about them, but I had them vac sealed and the bag held up, what hadn't burst. So air got in there. But I took those fillets out and rinsed them and cut the pin bone out of them. And then what I did was I got the oven ripping hot. So I got that, not ripping, but I got the 400 degrees. And my daughter helped me with this, but we took the fillets and dusted them in flour, and then rolled them in egg wash, just like you're making fried catfish. Roll them in egg wash, and then put them in panko. And then bake that thing on a sheet. And holy shit, was that good, man. I mean, I've done that with a bunch of kind of fish, but it wound up being perfect for that fish. Because you can leave it in there and it kind of it dries out, and that panko makes it sets up real firm. So it winds up giving like some structure to the fish. It's almost like, what's that where you take meat and you put it in a dough?
Oh, like a beef Wellington?
It's like fish Wellington. Like that crispy crust. Yeah, my kids ate it up, man. Loved it. So now when I catch peacock, I'm going to be all happy.
I love it. Well, we gotta tell a hunting story.
Yeah.
And I figured we could tell the story of a Mexico Coues deer hunt. That was ended up being the first THC ever.
So before we get sitting under that hot ass tree in the middle of the day, man.
The middle of the day, looking for Coues deer that we never found. Me missing that buck that tried to charge us. It was like a 10-yard shot. Missed him clean. But before we get that, we've been doing this. I've been doing this as episode, I think, 9 of the Daily Show, and we've been trying to recall a hunting story every time with the people that I was there with. And it's been an experiment, like how people recall hunting stories, how you recall something that might have happened 2 years ago, and I think in this case 3 years ago, whatever. How you collectively recall something going down. So, like, Steve, do you have a way that you feel like you normally recollect a hunting story, like points that you normally go to as the animal, the place, like how do you approach it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel that's a good question because there is something that happens. When I was there, if you remember, we're hunting very close to the U.S. border. We spend our whole year being inundated with stories of tremendous violence along the U.S.-Mexico border. That gets in your head in a way that's hard to ignore. And then you're on edge. You're just on edge. You're in a strange place. It's hard to read social cues. It's hard to tell what people are doing. All the complexities of being, you're 60, 70 miles from the U.S. border, but there's just a lot of complexity to it. And it's nerve-wracking. So being there, and we were staying quite close to a highway there, and there was always strange trucks and new people, and it's just like, what the hell is that? And what's going on the road? And why is there this guy pulled over? And right, your mind just runs away with you. So at the time, I would have told you that was the trip where it was a trip where I was real nervous all the time. But now when I tell it, it was the trip where we found many gigantic bucks and had the best time of our lives. It was the like, should have been here yesterday. Oh, but I was here yesterday trip.
Yes, absolutely. And Yanni always tells that. I probably made that mistake. We recorded these stories and stuff way back when, but I make that mistake of probably overselling, the danger piece of it. Because one, it's a compelling talking point. It's a thing to talk about because it's a natural, as you said, Steve, kind of a natural way to approach the situation. Because it is, when you cross over from Douglas to Agua Prieta, the differences that are divided by a fence are amazing. And you start to kind of weigh those two things in your head and try to make it stand up. But I know Yanni, even when we were down there on this particular trip, kind of, said, look, man, you gotta take that for what it is, but also take where you are for what it is. Because if you didn't know where you were, this would be the most idyllic place to hunt deer, maybe ever. Yanni?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I just think that that story gets blown up, and like Steve said, your mind runs away with you. Our buddy Jay's been doing it for 30 plus years now and has never had a single even kind of run in with any sort of danger or dangerous people. So I think if you're not being a dumbass and, in Agua Prieta at 2:00 in the morning drunk, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, I just got back from Baja a week ago, and prior to that, we were down hunting Coues deer in Sonora, and it took this year. I can't remember. I've been down there 6 or 7 times now. I had to add them up. It's one or the other, 6 or 7, maybe 6. It was finally this year that I allowed reality to take its place, to take its position over emotion or whatever. And I was like totally comfortable the whole time, because I'm like, nothing has ever happened. It's not only not happened to me, but not happened to the many people that Jay guides or hosts or helps. So this year I was totally chill about it. Totally. But I don't want to act like overplaying it or not. I think that any discussion I have about the feeling of danger is honestly commensurate with what I felt, justified or not. It was just there. It was like, it was there in me, and I'm just giving voice to what's there. I'm not taking that and giving it like a greater position than it deserves. Like, I have always felt a little uneasy down there. But again, looking back on it, it was the trip of giant bucks.
And I don't feel any less uneasy. Not that I go to like big cities that often, but I feel the same sort of anxiousness and uneasiness if I'm in New York and all of a sudden you're in a neighborhood that doesn't look quite as clean and gentrified as what you're used to, or if you drop me off in I don't even know the neighborhoods of LA. Compton. Is that a neighborhood in LA?
I know. I know how you know about that one.
Yeah. They talk about it in some rap songs, I think.
Big 90s rap fan.
You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing with Detroit. We used to go there to watch a baseball game every now and then, and there were parts that you drive through that were scary, But it might have not been. What's the word I'm looking for? Not verified, but help me out, Steve.
Justified?
Warranted?
Warranted or justified, because they were just stories, Well, yeah, we're going to drive through this neighborhood and the place is always on fire. It's like, well, we always drive through there. Nothing's on fire, but people like to tell those stories, that Detroit was just burning half the time, but it never actually was. Anywho, yeah.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
I do remember, there's little moments though when you cross the border there and you check your guns and do that whole thing, and then you kind of get going into Aquaparades. Like I remember seeing, you guys remember the water park that's there? Kind of an oddly placed water park.
Oh yeah.
I think of those moments as like getting to know that place in a way, right? Like it's not something you expect to see. There's relative poverty everywhere in Aquaparades, but up out of the dust is a water park.
Yeah, I've been to Mexico many, many, many times, man, and it's my second favorite country next to America. If someone said like you can only visit one country besides America, I would without hesitation.
Yeah,
I would say Mexico.
So, well, this trip,
Canada could suck it because we got Alaska.
Just the revolving door to Alaska. So we got to get to the big giant bucks. And Steve, we could start with the question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Was the Coues buck that you shot on this trip the biggest you ever shot in terms of what was on top of its head?
Oh yeah, man. Not only that, I think it's one of those rare things. Well, no, it's not rare because it's happened to me a couple times. I think that I know that I did. Yeah, did I? I think I probably shot the biggest Coues deer I ever saw. And I shot the biggest mule deer I ever laid eyes on.
That's the one in Colorado?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Idaho.
That same year?
No, but I'm saying, how many things can you think of where you actually got the biggest one you ever saw?
Oh, yeah. I see. Yeah.
It wasn't like, this one I saw one day. I don't know that I've seen. I don't know that we've glassed up. We haven't gotten a really good look. I might have seen it in passing and not recognized what it was, but I never got a good look at a Coues deer bigger than the one I got on that trip. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. And I definitely got the biggest. Well, I'm almost positive. I got the biggest mule deer I ever saw on its feet. That ain't bad.
Well, I mean, in this case, it was. I don't know if this is about as textbook a situation, a scenario to have it play out for Coues deer as the one where your buck did. I mean, yeah. I don't know of a more
it's spot and stalk with no in between. It's just, I spotted it, I stalked it,
and I shot it. Hey, there's one over there, and then an hour later, it's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So run us through this scenario. It's day one,
I feel like,
right?
Yeah, it was early, and I feel like you saw it.
Yeah. No, it was, see, this is why I love trying to figure out these hunting stories with people I was there with, because we're always, you're always kind of spin it back, and everybody remembers it a little bit different. But yeah, we were sitting there. It was, I don't know, probably 10 a.m., 11. It's later into the morning.
And I know we'd seen 20, I feel like we'd seen 20-some deer.
Yeah, we'd seen 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw one buck, but we spooked it, I think, or it saw us and boogered off, and we were just kind of working our way through these. I would say these ridges above. There was an old creek bed below us, and then a field that was planted below that, and we were just sitting there late morning, probably getting ready for lunch, getting ready for midday naps, and me and old Dirt was there. It was me, you, and Dirt, and we were sitting there glassing this hillside. And I came across what looked like a giant set of Coues deer antlers.
And I remember you saying something to the effect of, I'm no Dr. Coues deer, but I have a feeling that is a nice big Coues deer.
Because you guys had been there for I don't know how many times prior to that. So I had this first time I'd seen any Coues deer on its feet. I said, I'm no expert.
Far be it from me to say, but
I'd like you to turn your attention to this deer and see if you can't check it out. You're right. He was on his feet, and then we kind of watched him and watched where he laid down, and then made a plan.
Well, no, we had one of those. There's a conversation we had that happens where you're like, well, go get him. And they're like, oh, no, you, by all means, you go get him. And wow, no, you go get him. And we sliced a piece of summer sausage, a piece of donk. We sliced a piece of donk. I put a little gouge in one face of the donk slice.
You did. Yeah, you did.
And you had to call like gouge or smooth or whatever. and we flipped it. And I won the right to go after the Coues deer. And what the biggest problem with Coues deer, there's a bunch of problems with them. One of the big problems with Coues deer is that they lay down and you go like, okay, I know where he is, but then you take some circuitous route to get over there. And when you get over there, you realize that the hillside that seemed very clear to you being that, oh, there's the big bushy bush in the rock, and then like an hour later, you're looking at it from a different angle, and it looks like it's not a hillside; it's 4 hillsides, and there are 30 big bushy bushes, and you sit there and you're like, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea. I thought it was, I don't know where it is. Is it on that hill or that hill or that hill? But this one, he bedded down in not a big bushy bush, but a like very distinctive tree.
Yep.
In a hillside that had no other trees, and in a place where this red grass gave way to this yellow grass. And it was probably the only time I could think of stalking a Coues deer where I did all my sneaking and plotting and figuring and eventually popped up in the right area. And I was like, dude, that's the tree. That never happens.
And you had good cover to kind of approach him.
Oh, yeah.
You got above him. You approached him perfectly. I'm sitting up there. I'm with Dirt, and we had devised a red bag, green bag scenario where if he had got up and boogered or had moved, I was going to hold up a red bag. And if he was still in the same spot, I would hold up a green bag. And so as you're going, you have the perfect route. You got cover the entire way. You get above him. And I'm assuming your wind was good because of the result, but that's the most nervous I've been on a spotting scope in my entire life. Because you had already given me kind of the instruction of, hey man, these things can ghost you. They can be gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. So stay on the spotter. Don't let him get out of there. And I'm up there by myself, and this is the most nerves I've ever had looking through a spotter, trying to see you, trying to see the deer, trying to see you, trying to see the deer. I remember being scatterbrained, trying to hold a green bag in the fucking air, trying to get all this stuff sorted out at one time. But I think from your standpoint, it was if you were to write a playbook for stalking up a Coues deer, this is it.
Well, where I broke the rule though was this: I got where I had such a commanding view of, like, I knew with such precision where it was. And I had such a commanding view of it, and I knew from the bags, from the visual signaling we were doing, I knew that it was still there. And a smart person might have just set up and waited because it'll eventually stand up. But what I did is everything was so perfect that I was able to kind of slowly nudge down, knowing that he would eventually stand up to try to figure out what was going on. And so I was all ready with my shooting sticks and kind of nudge until he did not jump up, just stood up, because they do that. Like, you'll see them do it all the time. They stand up to see what's going on and not bolt necessarily. And once I stood him up, I took my shot. And yeah, Coues deer of a lifetime.
That's risky business.
I mean,
well, it is, but it's not, because I could also picture that if I waited, something could happen where he didn't just stand up and where he did blow out, like the wind, a coyote, another buck, right? And I felt that, like, I had so much. I was far enough away. I was 200 some yards away at the time. I didn't feel it was risky, and I was proven right by history.
That's right. And I mean, there's been that year and then the following year, there's so many times when you see a big buck like that, you think you got a handle on where he's going to be. And if you spook him, it's over. You're never going to see him again. And that country can hide those deer like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's addictive, man.
That country, though, out of all the country we've hunted, I think over the years, was some of the more open country. And when we would find deer, it wasn't like they were just walking behind bushes and trees as often as they have on other ranches and other hillsides where they tend to disappear more often. There's a lot of open yellow grass on that place.
And I think if you were, and this is my case, if this was to be your first Coues deer hunt in Mexico, in Sonora, you would think it was simultaneously very easy and you were going to get a look at, I don't know how many big bucks we got to look at on this trip, a dozen maybe, something like that. We were in them pretty much every time we went out. I can think of 6 or 7 bucks off my head that I know are bigger than the second trip I took. So this place, I don't know if it's where this was, the amount of water that was accessible here. Like what, Steve, do you have any feelings on why this place just kind of held more big deer than at least I've ever seen?
No, I think we just caught it at the right moment because guys have gone back since then and they haven't found that to be true at all. We just caught it. We were there yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, it hadn't been hunted. That certainly helped.
Well, I should add that we kind of cleaned it up.
We did.
Yeah, I don't think that place had other hunters.
Pour the coals to it.
Well, no, like I mean, other than maybe a cowboy shooting a deer here and there, it just those deer had not been hunted for quite some time, maybe in their entire lives, and there was a nice crop of mature deer running around.
Yeah. You have any other recollections of that particular stalk on that deer, Steve? Because I just, looking back now, I imagine you could replay that 100 times and it wouldn't go that way another time.
No, it was just it was like the time that everything went right. I don't go into when I'm going after one of those or someone's going after one of those, you don't do it with a whole lot of cockiness. We hunted this year down there and we found a nice buck and maybe could have got a crack at it the second we saw it. And then Yanni worked it for 2 or 3 days. We knew right where it was. Like you could tell at any given time within 100 yards where that thing was. He worked it from above, below, any possible angle, and no reason to think it wasn't in there. Just never found it.
Yeah, he just never surfaced again. Well, he did surface again, but I'd put the sneak on him, and then he'd be gone.
Not because he's spooked, but just because it's
just thick.
You can't. There's no spot. You wonder, like, did they get lucky? Did he pick a spot where he's like, dude, I'm gonna live in here because it'd be a bitch to try to get me, or is he? I don't know. But he had a spot where like we knew he was there. We knew that he was like right in this little pocket, but there's just no way to work him.
I imagine they choose those things. Conditioning being what it is, man. If they've been chased around,
Yeah, he's probably like, I hang out here, and for whatever reason, I don't get shot at.
Yeah, it's probably that simple. Exactly. But yeah, if you think
I don't know. I don't feel like hunter pressure influences the movements of those deer.
No, you're maybe right. Maybe he just had a lucky
one week out of every year of their lives. Other than that, they just see a cowboy, every now and then that's not shooting at them. So I just think that's.
You should tell that to the one. You should tell that to the one that had a cowboy's bullet in his leg.
Right. Well, no. I mean, we know that some of them get shot at by cowboys, but there's 1 or 2 cowboys per 15, 20,000 acres. I think that's that's just the nature of that animal, man. Where they live and and how they stay alive and don't get eaten by mountain lions.
I was gonna say it becomes a chicken or the egg thing. Is that buck big because of where he happened to lay his head, or did he figure that out and get over there and that's how he got big?
Yeah, I'd love to know when you find a buck that's in a really tricky spot. and you just can't find him again? Is he in there thinking those mountain lions will never get me? Or is it just he doesn't even know why he likes those spots?
Yeah, he likes it for the shade. He likes it for the escape route. He likes it for kind of how he can move around in there, and that just so happens to be an extra layer of protection that he didn't necessarily plan for. It's just got elementary pieces that he likes.
It's hugely temperature driven too, where it was this year. It was like, we weren't getting the cold mornings. The deer were spending virtually all daylight hours on north and east facing slopes where they'd get a lot of shade. On some weather, you go down and they like to go out in the big open hillsides, and soak up the sun, and that makes them vulnerable. But this year, man, you had to just start. You had to start your day. You had to start your day glassing in the shade, and it's hard to find them in the shade. They stand out relative to other times, they never stand out like a sore thumb because they're little diminutive little deer, but they're a hard thing to find in the brush, man.
That's true. And that property we were on, that ranch, that estancia we were on, I mean, you wonder if it's all those elements kind of just come together. It hadn't been hunted. It had a lot of open terrain. We had good weather. It's a little bit of rain, if I remember correctly, but with generally great weather. And it just had, and that piece of country has a lot of the elements you need to grow a big Coues deer anyway.
That was the only ranch I've been on down there where I saw a full-on legit gray squirrel. Like a tree squirrel, gray squirrel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the most turkeys I've seen and spending time in Sonora too. So, I mean, it was, I think because of the amount of water it had, probably just where we were, a little bit richer than it would have been otherwise. Yanni, you want to tell your buck story?
Sure. I was hunting with John Snow, the what's his title? Gun editor?
King of the North.
King of the North from Field and Stream and Outdoor Life now, I believe. And we had gone across the highway. This ranch was bisected. I don't know. There wasn't much on the other side, but it was bisected by the highway. And we went to the other side of the highway and saw some deer in the morning, saw some bucks in the morning, saw actually a really nice buck. I saw him for maybe a minute as he rolled over a ridge that was 3 or 4 ridges away. And then I had to, Beto was with us. Beto's our fixer that sort of helps us out there. He helps us, translates while we're driving across the border, goes on grocery runs or gas runs if we need it. And then he also likes to hunt Coues deer. So he was with us and he kept telling me, no, we can go over there. I said, no, you don't understand. It's like 4 ridges, not just like the next ridge. It's like 4 ridges, like the farthest ridge. And I was having a hard time explaining that in Spanish. So he finally said, let's go. And I'm like, all right. So we start hiking. He's hiking in his cowboy boots. And once we got onto like the second ridge, and then I explained to him again that it was 2 ridges farther, he said, oh yeah, we can't go there. So that took me into the middle of the day. We hooked back up with John Snow and hunted around, nothing too exciting, middle of the day. And then we decided to basically just walk a ridge for the last hour or so. There weren't any real great vantages that you could get up on to just cover all this country, but we could walk this ridge and just glass these small bowls that were only maybe 200-300 yards across, and lots of Ocotillo, great looking country. And we would just walk the last hour, the crepuscular period, and hope that we just catch something on its feet. So we'd go to these smaller high points, glass for 5-10 minutes, continue to walk. And somehow I got ahead of John. I don't know if he just stayed back to glass something a little bit longer, but we actually peeled off the ridge and went around a little bowl to another little ridge looking down into kind of a longer valley. And I crept up to the edge of this this ridge, and luckily I was creeping and didn't just walk up and just peek over. And I just saw the tops of his antlers at like 60 or 70 yards. And so I actually got back off the ridge, dropped my gear, and signaled to John. He came over eventually. I told him about this buck because it was his I think it was his first Coues deer hunt. And he was kind of our guest, so I wanted him to shoot one. And I told him there was a buck right below us, and he was going to the left. And so we did a little horseshoe, peeked over again, maybe 75 yards up the ridge, and caught right up to him. But John didn't want to shoot him. And so because I had found him, he wanted to find his own buck, which I can respect that. But I had left my rifle back with my pack. So he's like, well, you shoot him. So I had to take his rifle and shoot him. And it was tricky, man. It was not thick, but definitely through some layers of ocotillo. I remember having the scope open, like down, like at like 4 or 5 power, and looking at this buck. And there was just too many ocotillo. Ocotillo, if you're not familiar with it, it's like a multi-pronged bush branch that just grows straight out of the ground, but right out of the base of it, just like, I don't know, some of them have 10, some have 30 or 40 of these long, probably inch to 2 inch diameter. Yeah, stiff bull whips that can be, some of them are probably 10, 15 feet long. And I love walking through them. They're the coolest thing. They're covered in these spikes. Like, you'd hate to take a crash on like a mountain bike or something into a ocotillo. Anywho, I'm looking through the scope, and I just remember seeing so many ocotillo branches and being like, man, I don't think I can thread one through there. But once I dialed up the scope a little bit, I could see like a path to his vitals. And he was, again, 60, 70, 80 yards, somewhere in that range. I wasn't ranging him. And I didn't have a rest, so I was shooting offhand and figured I could make that shot. Well, I touched one off, and nothing happened. He just stood there. I cycled, touched another one off. He just stood there. I guess he didn't know where the shots were coming from. And then the third shot, I hit him in the lungs and rolled him over. And that was the end of that. So, yeah, definitely not like a classic Coues deer hunt. And what's interesting is I've shot 2 of them that way, caught up to them real close. And it's cool to be that close to a buck that you're not supposed to get under 300 yards of. But, yeah, it was fun. John and I had quite the adventure packing that bugger out. We had left a road and gone on to another road that they weren't connected because of a washout or something. They were parallel though. Between the two was we thought it was a valley. We hadn't looked at it close enough. It turned out it was more of a canyon. So each of us with our gear and half a Coues deer on our backs, we decided to try to cross the valley and go right back to our four-wheeler. Instead of walking the road all the way back around the and sort of circumnavigating this what turns into a canyon. And so we added a solid 90 minutes. I don't know if you guys remember that night. We got in pretty late. You guys were all in your pajamas by the time we rolled in. But
no, we were legit worried about. We were pretty worried about you. We had made dinner, eaten dinner.
Divided up his effects.
Yeah, wrote a letter to his family.
Yeah,
Yanni has decided to take a different direction in life.
Yep,
it was brutal too, man. Because the whole time down, we descended this hill was nothing but cat claw, just thick cat claw, just shredding our clothes. And we get to this canyon that's like it wasn't that like it was. In desperation, like if you were getting chased by a Mexican drug lord, you would probably jump off this wall and get down into the bottom and risk twisting an ankle and then cutting out of the canyon. But just to like save time, you weren't going to do that. So once we went back and forth along the canyon wall for 30 minutes looking for a way to squeeze through the super steep stuff, maybe find a little chute or something. We couldn't find it. We had to hike back up. I don't know. There was at least 20, maybe 30 minutes straight up through this cat claw. It was brutal. And then we walked whatever it took us 90 minutes back to the buggy and then rolled out. So it was fun. It was type 2 type fun. It's a fun story to tell on the back end.
That's and that was a good
year
buck.
of big bucks.
And that was a big buck.
Yeah. It was like I don't know if I ever taped it. I might have taped it. I think it was like 105 incher, something like that. My biggest to date, real wide. I forget how wide he was, but he was wide for a Coues deer. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from a novice as I was at that point, that's a second buck. I think you guys killed your bucks 1 and 2. And that's just the 2 bucks I've seen. That sets quite the precedent for a guy who's never laid eyes on a Coues deer in camp before to see 2 mega giants. Well, 2 giants, however you say it. 2 big bucks come in, and day 1 and day 2. And I certainly didn't have any expectation on my own, but we were seeing so many bucks that you just felt like it was going to happen. We should, and it did. We should talk about. There's a lot to talk about from here on, but El Gigante still lives.
No, I don't believe that he does.
I believe he's still out there, Steven.
He lives in your mind, that's for sure.
He lives in my heart. He's out there.
There was a buck. I'll tell my version.
Please.
There was a buck that we caught at a weird angle and had some image of it and thought that it was just like the largest buck ever to walk the face of the earth. I now realize that it was the angle, his position relative to us, the angle, the sunlight. It was a perfect collision of circumstances that made this thing look like El Gigante.
And I believe,
that buck is I believe that we got that buck, and we just were looking at it all wrong.
You think that Jon Snow shot that buck?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
yeah, you do. Okay,
he certainly was living in the same neighborhood,
and has the exactly same antler configuration.
That's true too.
I believe that we happened upon, a near mythical creature as he was standing on this little knoll, as you'll remember, Steve, like in the sun.
A grassy, sunlit knoll.
If the sun ever kissed an antler better than this, I'd be surprised. Like it was just like haloing around this deer.
The sun embraced that antler.
It really did, and it was like a 3-dimensional,
You could almost say it magnified it.
Yes.
more like amplified it, or shown it's true. That's kind of the same thing.
The sun made it look way bigger than it was, is what I'll say.
So I was trying to.
I always tell people, man, when I'm Coues deer hunting or any kind of mule deer hunt, whatever, I give every deer the benefit of the doubt. Like every deer could be a buck, and every buck could be a big one. It's like until he proves otherwise, I assume he's giant. It's just how I keep enthusiasm high.
Well, I mean, what were we like this had to be day 3 or day 4?
Early.
Or we're still early in the hunt. Steve and I had sat up on a knoll and recorded the inaugural episode of the Hunting Collective while glassing for bucks under a tree in the shade. And you'll have to pick this up here because I'm a little fuzzy on how we got over to this deer. But did we record the podcast after El Gigante or before? Do you remember?
Before.
That's what I thought. Because
you guys had Garrett with you when you guys
was the incident where
into...
Yeah, it was before, and then we ran into that. Yeah, ran into him.
We spotted a buck we wanted to chase, and we went working down a ridge, the same ridge of where we had climbed to the top to record that podcast, like a nice little glass and tit that was kind of at the center of a really good zone where we killed most of the rest of our bucks in this trip. And see a buck, we're sliding down this hillside to kind of get in position to try to get a better look at him. And I happened to just put my foot in the exact wrong spot, slipped, put my hand back, and right into a cactus. And I I can't remember, Steve, did you just keep glass in the buck? Because I had to sit there and pull what felt like 500 cactus thorns out of my hand.
That sounds like something I might have done.
You did. And this was...
My own pain really affects me greatly, but I find... the pain of others, I'm fine.
Empathy. Screw it. So that was the night before we ran into El Gigante, now that I'm putting the pieces together. Because I remember we slid down after this buck. We never got a good look at him again. And I went back with a throbbing hand, feeling like a jackass. But the accomplishment of that day was that we recorded the first THC.
On
but the next
hot-ass hillside.
Dude.
Feeling very dejected.
Dejected, trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do. It did get hot that day. I remember being sunburned as shit. My hand, going back to the ranch house, hand throbbing, rapping, bleeding, sunburn, just thinking, all right, Coues deer is not as easy it was when Steve killed a buck. We're going to have to work for this one. And then the next day we went back to the same zone. This is another mid-morning thing. We spot a deer as we're working through these bottoms. Spook that deer. Remember, we worked around. There was a deer that was kind of bedded down in a little cut, a little culvert. We worked around this knob to try to get to him. Spooked another deer and spooked him. And we thought both those deer were pretty big. And so we saw the direction they kind of moved off towards. So we started working around this hill to kind of get a good vantage. And as we're working around this hill, I don't remember. Do you remember, Steve, who first spotted El Gigante, kissed by the sun?
No, I do not recall.
One of us. I think it might have been Dirt, because it was me, you, and Dirt. We get going around this corner. We see this buck. I don't know. He's probably 250, 300 yards away on this hillside. And we get laid down. The problem at that time is the sun was right in our eyes, I remember. The problem we had seeing him.
Horribly.
Yeah, horribly. Probably the worst I've ever seen. So I have some video that's pretty popular of me laying prone after we had first spotted El Gigante, where we decided we were punching each other in the arm. I think we were so excited about how big this buck was when we first saw him. I mean, it was immediate. All three of us immediately thinking, this is the biggest Coues deer that ever walked. Is that your recollection, or am I still playing it up?
No, at the time, that's how I felt.
At the time. So I felt we got a spotting scope on him. I got the scope on him, but because the sun couldn't get a shot, well, he works down the hill, down into kind of a bottom where we couldn't see, and up on this ridge behind it, and it was covered in shadows that might as well have been black. We could see him moving from tree to tree, bush to bush. We could kind of see him serpentining through this stuff. But as I'm laying prone trying to get the scope on him, Steve's holding his hat in front of my scope, and I'm trying to instruct him on where to hold the hat so I can actually see, and I get like tiny micro glimpses of this buck in my scope, and then the sun flares again, and I'm blind, and then I got to try to pick him up again. And so this buck, at this point, we still believe to be El Gigante, the biggest Coues deer buck to ever walk, is kind of just slowly working this hillside. And that's the most, it would have been, a difficult shot, but one you could have made if not for that, Steve. Have you ever run into having to hold a hat like that?
I've had, over the years, we've had a number of things get the slip just because of the sun thing, man.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's like everything's black. Yeah, it's horrible.
I actually think the next year, right? Didn't you and I both shoot those bucks, and we had to hold hats to make that happen?
Yeah, I had Callahan standing there trying to move his hat around in such a way that it would give a little sun protection. It's a sunny ass place, and the thing is in the wintertime down there, it's intense sun, but it's always at a low angle. Yeah. It's just like it's at a low angle in the morning, and then all of a sudden it's just at a low angle in the evening. There's not like a midday part. It's just a lot of there's a lot of eye level sun. It's like the thing comes up and seems to travel the whole damn horizon, shining into your eyeballs. It's a tough place for sun. And then you got the dust factor, where there's just a lot of dust. So dust is on your optics, dust is in the air. Visibility's tough.
Yeah, and a lot of Coues deer
I know you said this.
I was just going to say,
I know you said this on the first episode. Go ahead,
A lot of Coues deer hang out on north face and slopes, and that means that sun's going to be in your eyes and in your scopes, binoculars that much more because you're always looking south.
Yeah, the way that sun acts, you'll have in the evenings, sometimes in the mornings, you'll have, I don't know, man, what it must be, 40, 50 degrees of visibility that just doesn't do you any good at night. Yeah. It's like a real factor. It's just like sun, looking into the sun.
Yeah, I think because of what we're talking about too. I remember you saying this when we recorded that first episode. It's kind of you're very aware of the times of day. It kind of like you have that, the pre-dawn crepuscular, those periods where deer are on their feet and it kind of snaps into midday, and then it kind of snaps into that dusky time when the deer are actually moving. So you because of the way the sun is and the way the terrain is and how intense it is, you kind of become more heightened to those moments when prime time hits. And
there's a palpable excitement when it gets like deery, on a hot day.
Yeah, yep. And I know we experienced that here, and we were kind of in that deery time period when El Gigante made his move. Anyway, he was working through this hillside, and it's the most frustrating thing when if we can get the hat, scope, deer scenario right, all the elements to line up perfectly, you're going to get a good shot at this deer, and he's a big deer, and we really want to shoot him. And as we said before, man, if he gets away tonight, we may never see him again, and likely in the country where we were, it was very likely we would never get eyes on him again. So you feel that pressure. I felt that pressure. We're working through. He finally stops, I remember, behind an Ocotillo on this hillside where I have the crosshairs on his shoulder. I can finally make him out. I have the crosshairs on his shoulder. I'm not going to shoot through his Ocotillo. He just needs to make 2 or 3 steps for me to get a wide open shot. He makes, instead of 3 steps, he makes like a step and a half. And so I'm shaving it off, and I'm thinking, well, I could still get a bullet in there. I squeeze the trigger. Shot goes off. Chaos. I don't know if I hit him or not. I don't know what the hell went on. I can't see anything. Sun's right back in my eyes afterwards. Nobody, I remember Dirt was trying to film it, trying to see if I had made a decent shot. Nobody knew. I wasn't sure of the shot. I wasn't real confident just because of all the scenarios going on. And then we pretty quickly, Steve, didn't we make our way down the hill to check things out?
Yeah, went down there and then had a really weird thing happen where we're checking around for blood. This has always confused me a little bit because we're checking around for blood, but all of a sudden we could hear something running. Like he thought we were a doe. Like he spooked, but then thought we were a doe or something. And hears something running, and he storms back in on us.
Yeah. I remember.
Close enough to shake hands.
5 yards, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to over-exaggerate how close
How big did he look then?
Not as big.
But this was
the point where we're like, it must have been a different buck. Now I don't believe that.
In my mind, still to this day, I'm like, well, that was a different buck. Even though it was the exact same spot that buck just was.
It was the weirdest thing I've seen one of those things do.
Yeah. And I was
he stormed back in.
And I was below you, kind of catty cornered. I mean, I was probably at your, say 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And he's storming like towards you. And I could see the deer. But as I shoulder my rifle, I remember you just saying, shoot him. And he's coming in. And I have to like stand on my tippy toes to get a decent shot because we're in the tall grass. And I freaking squeezed a shot off at what felt like point blank range, and he just turned around and ran off. I felt like the worst fucking hunter to ever wear a pair of boots, man, at that moment. Because I was like, we're still thinking this is El Gigante at this point, that we just got this very fortuitous second chance at the biggest Coues deer to ever walk, and I just missed it.
It wasn't like, if you were in hunter safety, they show you those slides in hunter safety that are like shoot, don't shoot. I think it would have been very clearly in the don't shoot realm.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's a big embankment and you could see a deer basically from the white throat patch up sticking his head up over the embankment.
But it just said like
if you had to pass your test, you'd have to be like clearly I would shoot, but I'm gonna have to say no because this is a test.
I mean, yeah, if you weren't here, I would say yes. Like, if I'm being honest. I mean, I felt at the time you feel like the deer is
no, by which I mean yes.
Yes, I mean no for the purposes of passing the test. Yeah, man, I felt like this deer was at the end of my gun barrel. Like, that's how I felt like that. I just felt like you could never have another opportunity, as frenzied as that was, to get that deer. I mean, he just walked right in there.
Dude, it was a weird moment, man. I kind of forgot about how weird that moment was.
And I just remember just feeling immense shame at that moment. Just immense, deep shame.
It happened so fast and unexpected and weird, yeah.
Yeah, and I just remember I missed this deer, and then I came up here and he ran back in and dive bombed me, and he kamikazed us, and I missed him at 3 paces. And and I remember you looking at me with like the confused look, like how could you not?
Offhand shooting's tough.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
Hey, man, I was at Doug Duran's one time hunting whitetails, and I was hunting with our friend Brittany. I was with Helen, our friend Helen. And she shot a buck and killed it, and we wandered our way over there and had the same thing. All of a sudden I could hear just hooves ablazing, and like someone else had spooked this buck and he had inadvertently run into us, and the same thing. I mean, I could have swatted him with the gun. And I threw up and took my chip shot, my gimme, and just whiffed. Like, it can't even to this day, understand how I could have. I mean, It was just right in my face. But
do you feel
you definitely don't go through your process.
Step one. Yeah, no, you feel like if we'd have grown up in the South running deer with dogs, maybe we'd had a better chance at this or something.
Oh, we did a lot of deer. I lost whatever it was that allowed you to just always pull it together on deer drives. But no, it just startles you, man. And I still don't know. It defies explanation that I missed this deer at Doug's. This is a nice big buck too. It would have definitely been my biggest whitetail ever.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in terms of El Gigante, I felt the added pressure of like, this is a giant deer. We were all freaking out about the deer prior to this moment, and I felt like such a dumbass after that. We went back. It was right around dusk when this happened, and so we made the march back to the ranch, and I felt like an absolute failure. It just like you said, it's just such a weird encounter, and you felt like this second chance at greatness. You know?
Yeah, when you're wandering through the dark down those dry ass canyons, getting scratched up by cactuses and tripping over rocks, it's a lot better when you just got a buck.
Yeah, and I remember. I don't know if it was, I remember you, Steve, a lot. We were all saying when we would stop or we would pause, we would say like, "Well," like, we said a lot of like, "Yep, it happens to the best of us." I was just thinking, no, it doesn't. I don't know what you're talking about. Not sure what you're talking about.
That was fun though.
Yeah, it was fun. So the next day, John Snow in that same zone. Correct me if I'm wrong, Yanni. Sees a buck similar to what Steve feels is El Gigante.
Imagine that you took El Gigante and kept all the proportions and all attributes of his antlers, but just shrunk it.
Yeah.
A buck just like that.
Yeah. So El Gigante Jr., who clearly was just El Gigante's son, in my mind, as El Gigante probably still runs free. He's probably 200 inches by now. He goes over, makes a pretty easy stalk, shoots this buck.
Yeah, we had seen him, I think, the night before and couldn't get on him.
Yep,
and then we were waiting for him in the morning.
Yeah, he gets over there and does what I would pretend, or what I would say is an easy stalk, shoots this buck, all is good. I'm the last one left, stand holding the bag without a deer. And I remember hunting that entire day. We sat up on that same ridge where we recorded the podcast for a while, glassed a lot of bucks. Didn't really have much luck. And, we got a kiddo? Always got a kiddo. We didn't have much luck, but then at the end of the day, we saw a buck. We're going after this buck. And the sun's going down. The hunt is ending. Things are over. I'm kind of coming to grips with the fact that I'm not going to get a deer. And Steve and I are kind of walking a fence row into the sunset. He keeps kind of cruising and glassing. I sit down. I'm just going to enjoy this sunset. I'll glass from here. I'm looking out across this area, and I think it was you, Yanni, that saw the buck. I ended up shooting first. Is that
Garrett
right?
spotted it.
Garrett did.
Well, I had seen a nice buck. I had seen a nice buck back in that general zone. Again, like, I don't know, it was the day before or 2 days before, but it was so far away, and we hadn't really been hunting over there, so nobody was real excited to go and try to re-find it. But that day, I think it was Garrett, and we radioed, and then we all got together, right?
Yeah, you came running over to us. I mean, this is, 45 minutes before legal shooting light when you spotted this buck, and we're a good ways away from him at this point. To get down and get over to where he was is going to take us at least that long, if not longer. So you came down to meet us, Steve and I, and we went running over there. I mean, legit running in, losing light, running, trying to get to a spot where we could see him again and get a shot set up. You got any memories of this last ditch effort, Steve, to get this buck?
No, because I was left out of the loop.
Oh, you stayed back, didn't you?
Yeah. I knew what was going on, but I couldn't even find the deer. I was up with my binoculars. I never got to look at the deer. I never knew where it was. I mean, it was again, it was getting pretty dark.
It was pretty dark.
Very dark.
No, I never saw that buck. And I was always in spots where I had a pretty commanding view and never, ever laid eyes on it. Even when you shot, I didn't know what you were shooting at. Or maybe I saw I don't remember what it was, but no, I didn't know what the hell's going on, man. I was out of the loop.
Well, we go running up there. You're out of breath. You kind of, it's, like I said, it is, if it was last shooting light, it was the final rays of light. Like I get laid down, prone. We're trying to figure out where this guy is. He pops up on this ridge and starts working down this ridge, chasing a doe, and then works around to a spot where I can get a shot. And I know, Yanni, you were there, and he gave me just a millisecond where he stopped broadside, and I squeezed off the trigger, and he was gone, like disappeared. I didn't see him running, didn't see anything, just gone. And I thought, in my head, I had so little confidence at that moment. And in my head, I'm like, well, that's a great way to end it. Just miss another deer, put that on the ledger.
Well, yeah, but it's not because like something crazy happened. It just went from like when you can kind of see to pitch black, and at the same moment that you shot.
Yeah.
Actually, the blast out of the muzzle might have dilated
my eyes,
or not dilated, done the opposite, closed your pupils a little bit, and that way when the muzzle blast disappeared, it seemed like it was pitch black.
I took my sunglasses off, and then there we were. But yeah, no, I just thought for sure I had missed. I knew it was a good, solid shot. I was right on him. But just the lack of confidence led me to think immediately I missed this thing.
Now, that was a Hail Mary hunt or a Hail Mary attempt at killing that deer from the minute that we decided to go after him, because it was so late in the day. That must have been like the longest dusk period that hunters have ever encountered, because we had like 20 minutes left when we hooked up, and we shot the buck like 2 hours later, it seemed like.
I want to point out there was no artificial lights involved in this.
No artificial lights. And you want to point out that we're hunting in Mexico. They don't have rules about when you can shoot or not. So as long as you feel like you can make a safe shot, then you can shoot. And that shot when you shot wasn't that far. I think it was like 175
yards. And he was up on a little ridge where he had the kind of some light behind him where I could get a good silhouette. I knew exactly where I was holding. And when I pulled the trigger, like I said, it was just my lack of confidence that this was all going to work out, because it was such a Hail Mary. It was such a last minute, like maybe this will work, but it's probably not, but we're here, so let's try. So I just didn't have a lot of confidence in the end result. So when I pulled the trigger, he was gone. There was no flagging, running one way or the other. It was just literally nothing. And so I was sure of it. And then we walk over there. I think Steve got there before anybody, or Steve spotted him before anybody. We walk over there, and he had literally just kind of flopped over. He maybe been 10 yards down the hill from where I shot him. He had just flopped over in a spot where he wasn't visible till you walk right up on him.
Nice damn buck too, man.
A great buck. And what essentially is a perfect shot. I mean, he right in the heart, and he flops over, and he's dead. And it works out, even though it was midnight.
Yeah, that turned into a death march too, if I remember right.
It did,
was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Some long ass, because you can't pick your routes at night very good down there.
I thought we just walked that bottom out the whole way right to the buggy.
Oh yeah, we did. Well, they pulled the buggy. They pulled the buggy down in that bottom, and we walked the bottom right out of there. But we did. I mean, it was dark as hell when we skinned that thing and cut him up. That's for sure.
It was late for sure. But I was just looking at the pictures from that night, and the Coues deer gods were really shining down upon you, because there's a picture of El Gigante and then your buck, and your buck's bigger.
Yeah, I earned something. If there are Coues deer, if there are Coues deer gods, they just kept trying to get a deer for me, and I kept trying to mess it up. They're like, "Well, that buck you just missed, we'll send it back. Just run over there. He'll miss that." But yeah, I mean, I have that buck hanging in my garage now, and people always that's a nice whitetail. Like, nope, that's Coues.
Yeah, so try
whitetail.
again. No, dude, It's the best. It's I love it down there, man.
I do too. And that's, I mean, as far as a Hail Mary ending, that's exactly what it was. I would admit to that. Like, I was confident to pull the trigger, but it wasn't the best scenario to do it. But it worked out, and sometimes you got to take those opportunities when they present themselves. That's what that was.
I'm gonna bring it full circle for you, Ben. I read an article today about how Mexico is not taking necessary steps ahead of the coronavirus, man.
Really? What are their case numbers?
It's super light, but I think that they're one of those countries that could be learning from what everybody else didn't do. Yeah. And maybe they're not doing it.
Well, I'm going to bring it even.
I wish everybody down there the best, man.
I do too. I'm going to bring it even further full circle and ask you guys to pull up the hand turkey emails, because that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, but I'm telling you what. Like when I go to museums, I just walk around being like, shit, I could have done that. But when I pulled up those turkey hand things, I did not have that feeling. It was humbling, even humiliating.
A little bit, yeah.
The artistic quality of those turkeys.
Have you gotten to look at them yet there, Yanni?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at them. But I feel like there's one.
Some of them aren't hand drawings.
Yeah. The one that's named unknown. Are they all unknown? Sorry, they're all unknown.
No. Which one?
This is.
I didn't name.
This is unknown with no number, where it's got two turkeys. There's a hen and a gobbler, and the hen might be a decoy.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't see how a human's hand fits into that. Maybe
it's inspired. It's inspired by turkey hand drawings.
Maybe the hen. If you took your hand this way and then turned it, I could see that. Yeah. You know, if it's not a vertical hand, like, and you normally have the vertical feathers on these hand drawings, but his hen, if you cocked it sideways, I can maybe see it. But his gobbler, I just no. I don't.
No,
I don't think it's a hand drawing. I don't think it's inspired by a hand drawing, but I like that fist, how he's making a fist. But
it's super cool.
But he was not following. It's like this, man. In school, right? Now and then you just got to follow the assignment.
Yep. We have, when we
he
do
didn't
these.
Follow the assignment.
Now tell me about the one that's entitled The Man. 3244.
Clearly inspired by hand drawing. I'm not buying it. I don't think it was a hand drawing, but it was inspired by a hand drawing. Makes great reference to hand drawings.
Yes.
Excellent execution. In my mind, it's a clear winner. I could see someone having that as a tattoo.
That's what I was thinking when I saw it. So just to describe what we're looking at here, it's a turkey. I can't even try to describe it for me, Yanni. It just makes me laugh too hard to fucking look at it.
Yeah, it's if it was just the hand part, don't count the thumb yet, just the hand part with your 4 fingers up in the air. That's all very turkey color, turkey feather-ish. Out of the bottom, there's some turkey legs. There's a little beard. But then what really makes this is that the thumb has been elongated, and they basically took Ben's costume from the video that we did, which I believe we titled I'm the Man, and sort of drew a cartoon of that character that Ben played and attached it to this hand turkey, and did a great job. I mean, if you don't print that thing out and frame it and put it in your office, something's wrong with you.
No, that should go in the podcast studio.
No,
for sure.
Even better.
I was thinking to make a little Hall of Fame, but yeah. Now I want to move on to. We've talked about this a lot. The guy's named Alec.
Is there agreement or disagreement that trusting that we're going to wind up back in our studio at some point, that this will be in the podcast studio?
Agreement on my end.
I'd be pretty disappointed.
It's an amazing word.
I just want to point out one thing about this picture. Do you see the one thing? There's like a anatomical miss.
The thumb is way too long.
No.
Is it that the I mean, it's like, you mean that this guy has a human face for a face?
No.
No.
It's got my face. It's got my face.
That each finger is just painted as a turkey feather?
The spurs are upside down.
Oh, good eye, Yanni.
Oh, yeah, Yanni. All right, that's why you're here.
Jeez, that Yanni, man.
Well done.
I always forget how impressive that guy is.
That Yanni. So now go to
Encyclopedia Brown. I don't know if you ever read those books.
I don't know if we're going to count that against him. I mean, I still love the thing. It
still deserves to be hung up. It's just we'll always remember that flaw. Now, if you go to the bottom, or the one that's IMG 7483.
Beautifully titled.
Yeah, that's Are you looking at that now?
Very impressive, and not again inspired by the hand drawing.
Right. This was made
But each finger is a squirrel's tail.
Yes, made by a big fly fisherman turned turkey hunter. Thanks to our podcast, he told us. This is his first year turkey hunting, so he used all his fly tie material to make this turkey. It would be hard to put this thing down. We've talked about it on the show a lot. It's kind of become the mascot of the daily podcast. It's beautiful in my mind.
Has he sent you did he send you the real thing?
Yeah, he's gonna send it. I told him just wait till the quarantine so we can get back and receive it.
It's got a San Juan worm for snood.
Snood, yes. It's got its caruncles there. It's got its beard.
The caruncles are made out of beads, like that you would use to to fish trout that are eating salmon eggs.
There is a turkey feather in there, for the wing, I would think.
Yeah, what do you call the stuff that you tie woolly buggers with? I can't remember now, but that's what his beard is made out of. And then there's some grizzly hackle, which is part of his body. He does have a couple turkey feathers in there, but what I didn't notice until just now is what he used for the turkey's hooks.
Oh yeah, fish hooks.
Oh,
actual
damn,
hooks.
Yanni.
The guy used fish hooks for the turkey's spurs.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yanni just goes right to the spurs, man.
Then he put it on a stake and put it outside and used his portrait.
In its natural environment.
There's another photo that I will send you that he did it with, like, beside a White Claw with some toilet paper. It's very relevant for the time we're in. So that was Alec. He's been the leader in the clubhouse for at least 2 or 3 days here since he sent that to us. But I think that picture with my face on it, the one we were just talking about, that's going in the studio, is kind of like, I never thought this Alec's creation would be dethroned, but that other one is pretty close. The Man 3244 is pretty close.
You know how there's two called Unknown One? Oh no, there's Unknown. Sorry, Unknown and Unknown One. Yep. Unknown One is a hand drawing, and it's the hand drawings are set in the natural environment. And a weird stylistic decision was to paste the turkeys over deer so that you can still see the deer's feet sticking out, which I don't know if I agree with.
Yeah, I didn't see that till now. It's good that you guys are here with those eyes. That I hadn't been looking. I just giggle at like the faces because I have a child's mind. But that's a good point. They must have just glued them or taped them onto a picture of some deer
standing out in a yard.
Well, deer and turkeys do hang out together.
Oh yeah, they do.
If you look at the other one that we haven't talked about yet.
But hold on, I have one quick question. What's up with the gobblers? What's on his wing there that looks like a target?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the email I got. But this was a father and his 2 kids that did this. So that was the father, and then the other 2 turkeys are from his kids. I have to go back and look exactly if he explained what's going on there. I do not know. But it looks like a valve of some sort. I'm not real sure. Or some sort of tattoo. I'm not sure. So yeah. So go to 202-00324. Well named again. Mm-hmm. What are we thinking about this one? This is a female listener sent this in. It's definitely a hand.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. It's a little more abstract. It's a little more. I don't know. Which could you even call it like impressionistic? Maybe.
Yeah, it's like a watercolor painting. It's got like pink mountains in the background.
No, those are oils.
Acrylics.
Sure. You only think that's oil? Maybe it is watercolor. I don't know. Let me look closer.
It's beautiful. It's got a certain thing going on.
Are you looking at the painting titled 202-00324-
underscore,
etc.?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, that's one we're looking at.
Yeah, well, I like it. I like that the hand that it was based off is in the picture, but I like the label, but no, it doesn't replace the winner in my mind.
All right, perfect. Well, Everybody out there,
not to be harsh.
we had a goal, Steve, of trying to get 1,000 hand turkeys in this contest.
How many did you get?
We have a lot. I don't know if we're going to get to 1,000, but we got hundreds of them.
Oh, you have hundreds of them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I got piles and piles of emails with hand turkeys. I don't even think I've been able to look at them all, but these are ones that stood out. So we have till Tuesday. All you people out there have till Tuesday. Today, I think you're here listening to this on Thursday, so you have until this coming Tuesday to get your submissions in. But as Steve maybe can tell you, you got some rough competition. We got some talented people out there.
Yeah, don't dissuade people. I would say it's still up in the air, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's still up in the air.
You could be the winner.
You could be the winner of a First Light jacket. Here's what we're gonna do, Steve. See if you like this. We're gonna get a First Light jacket and screen print the turkey drawing really big on the back, like Rocky had the leather jacket with the tiger on it.
Man. Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. So, all right, boys. Well, hopefully we'll see you in the office at some point before spring is over.
Dude, I want to get back in there so bad.
I can't. I love my family. I love my home, and I love going outside. I love some level of freedom that this provides, but it would be a joy to see you fellas and give you a long, deep, uncomfortable hug.
I was telling everybody the other day, man, I walk around, I think it was Poison. Was it Poison? Don't know what you got till it's gone.
Let's go. We'll go with Poison.
No.
Captain and Tennille?
Yeah, I think you sang that song.
I don't know. That's not my game. I can pick out some upside down Spurs, but not songs.
Not like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, you know the song.
Pretty soon here, we're gonna have like a get. You know how you see the pictures of like the dads in the neighborhood standing in a circle, all 10 feet apart, drinking beer. We're gonna have to do something like that where we shoot bows and stand 10 feet apart.
That's right.
Yeah, I know, man. I got to get over my actual, because I'm in a situation
You're on a
where,
different program. Yeah.
Well, I am, because the governor of your state says, "Hey, stand down for 2 weeks." It's kind of, there's you oughta, but then there's also what kind of citizen are you? So I got to go. I got another week of this hardcore stuff, and then we'll see.
It's a good time for civic responsibility to be the thing that we all that guides us along in our daily thoughts.
For sure. Yeah. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of you could game it out in your head and be like, well, really, what are the chances? But you could also just be be cooperative.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do. All right, boys. Thanks for telling deer stories. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ben.
See ya. That's it. That's all. Another episode in the books. It was a good one. It was good to get back together with my friends and coworkers there that I don't get to see. It's good to see them. And it's good distraction from daily life. So thanks to Steve Ranella and Yanni Patelis for jumping on, talking about Coues deer. Now, Phil, we have to make the great transition to something very important.
Okay.
And that is tomorrow's review of the Tiger King. Have you made it all the way through?
I'm more than halfway through, so I've got a lot of viewing tonight and tomorrow morning. But I've got 3 episodes left. That's not too bad.
No, and really most of the important points are within the first couple of episodes. Most of the craziness, and it just keeps kind of cascading into darkness from there. But if you guys haven't been listening and you don't know about Netflix's documentary Tiger King, we're going to give you another day to go to Netflix and watch what essentially I think is 6 or 7 episodes, 7 hours, 7 hours of pure mind-bending oddities that you'll never see in your life. It's hard for me to explain it. I feel unworthy. But I'm going to watch the whole thing again, make a bunch of notes, and we are going to have Annie Racer, our VP of production, Phil's boss, and Seth, the flip-flop flesher Morris, on the show tomorrow with Phil. We're gonna do a happy hour. We're gonna actually record it at happy hour. We're all gonna have our separate beverages. I'm gonna really push that everybody drink heavily. I would like this podcast to devolve and be both a recap of Tiger King, but also a way for us to completely let off all the steam that we've built up over these last 2 weeks of quarantine. This is going to be just, hopefully, a wild, drunken recap of the wildest show ever made. You ready, Phil?
Yeah, I can't wait. Part of me wants to talk about stuff right now, but I don't think I should. I can't.
Wait, you can't. I have been having to bat people off with a stick that wanted to be a part of this podcast. Phil, if we were able to get 16 people on Squadcast, we could have absolutely done it. When I told people we were doing a review, pretty much everybody at Meat Eater and many people that don't work at Meat Eater wanted to be on to discuss this because it is like the thing captivating everyone. And you will find out tomorrow why it's captivated us, but it is amazing. There's nothing really else to be said, Phil.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, to finishing the show and to talking about it. And I feel privileged to be included in this very intimate drunken podcast.
Oh, I am gonna get rip-roaring drunk tomorrow. I mean, just let it all out. And I feel like that's appropriate given the times that we're in right now. We just need some time to release and let go and have a good time and talk about meaningless documentaries. So that's what we're gonna do. So join us tomorrow, Phil, for that beautiful, beautiful Tiger King, Joe Exotic. Bye!
The Hunting Collective with Ben O'Brien is a part of the Meat Eater Podcast Network. It is produced by Corinne Schneider and engineered by Phil Taylor. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, themeateater.com, or anywhere podcasts are downloadable. Wherever you listen, leave a 5-star review and subscribe.
Oh, God, Phil. Oh, boy. What a day around here. I can't. I'm losing it. If I have to get on another Skype conference call, Zoom, Skype, Squadcast, whatever the fuck, I'm going to lose my mind. Please help me. Save me. Give me some counsel.
I just want to say you've been doing great. I don't want to give you counsel. I just want to give you words of encouragement. You've been scheduling everything and emailing people. I just come in here and I put on the headphones and I make sure everything sounds great, give you the thumbs up, and I walk out of the room.
That's right. I'm back. I'm rising like a phoenix. I'm back, Phil!
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.